Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Earrings Off. We want to invite you to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. You can find us on Facebook at Earrings Off Podcast and on Instagram at The Earrings Off Podcast.
Welcome to Earrings Off. I'm Lou.
And I'm Teresa. Let's get started.
Hello. Hello.
How goes it?
Welcome to Earrings Off. Doing well. How are you doing?
Doing well. I guess we should greet our guests first, right?
Yeah, I'm working on that manners thing with you. Good morning, folks. It's a wonderful morning. Welcome to Earrings Off.
Yes. Welcome. Yes. Now, friend, how are you, co-host, buddy?
I am doing well this morning. Like the old folks say, I'm thankful to be in the land of the living. How about you?
Hey, the same. There is an old folk saying that I like that always throws people off because I'm from the South in the country. Fair to middling. I'm doing fair to middling.
Fair to middling. Yeah, I know that one too. Yeah.
You heard it. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I know I've used it on YouTube before. So, all right, let's get down to business because this is a short show and we got a lot to pack into this 30 minutes.
A lot to pack in because, you know how you are when we talk about health. I don't quite know why you picked this topic because you go all in, but I'm strapped in and ready.
All righty then. There was this one thing that you wanted to mention to our listeners.
Oh, yes. Teresa, the one thing I wanted to mention that you didn't think needed to be mentioned and I forgot to mention. See, that's why the team works. Folks, I wanted us to offer an apology for our June 13th show. We do our show every second Tuesday, 8 p.m. Teresa and I are committed to it. Always excited about it. And we weren't on. Our apologies. I lost power that day.
Yeah.
And, yes, we paid the electric bill. It wasn't that. Teresa and I were scrambling behind the scenes when we realized I could not get on. So our apologies. So, thanks, Teresa, my co-host, my partner, my friend, for remembering the thing that you didn't want me to mention. So there you go.
Gosh, why you got to put me out like that?
Teresa was like, it's all right. We don't have to waste time on that. And I'm always working with her on manners.
Yeah, that's
part
is true.
Of it.
That is 100% true. And I need that help and I welcome it. Thank you, friend. Okay, let's jump right into it. Today it's a somber subject. It's real, but we need folks to know about it. We need to bring awareness to it. But it's about the disparities in Black women's health in this country. But this morning, we're not going to talk about all of that, in all areas. We're just going to focus a little bit on Black maternal health. Yeah. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, and like you said, the subject is just is too much for us to go into every facet of it, of course. But we want you to pay attention because hopefully this will serve as the impetus for you to be more aware, for us all to be more attentive as we move forward and be better advocates. Yeah.
Be better advocates and just spread the word because this is serious. This is real. And it's bigger than, just preparing for this episode made me realize it's bigger than what I even knew it to be, right? Yeah. And so we just need to protect our Black women in the pregnancy process and them being able to have babies because as we get into it, you'll see most of the deaths could have been prevented.
I know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there was the impetus for me to want to talk about this on this show was Tori Bowie. And if you are a track fan, you know her name. She's an Olympic. She was an Olympic. She's a gold medal winner in the Olympics for track. She was very famous in the track world. She was only 32 years old. And she died from complications of being pregnant. Um, the autopsy revealed she was home alone. Um, the autopsy revealed that she went into some complications with that process. And I've read many, many stories because she was one of my favorites. And it was just so tragic to hear. But I've read many stories about her situation, um, and other track stars and athletes and their health in pregnancy. That's a whole other topic that we might get into sometime, Lou. But for Tori, of course, she was very fit. She was very healthy, and this was just unexplainable, actually, about what happened to her. But that is the impetus for us talking about it. What happened to Tori? But I want to read a statistic here. Black women have the highest maternal mortality rate in the United States, 69.9 per 100,000 live births, almost 3 times the rate for white women, according to the Centers for Disease Control. It's a real, real problem. And there are so many reasons why this is the case. And the biggest one comes back to me. For me, it's bias and it's race. Black women historically have not been listened to. There are a lot of, other than Tori, I mean, we had the case with Serena Williams,
Yeah, that's
who,
when I heard about this, that's what I immediately thought about because, you know, when she went in to have her baby, she kept trying to tell them something was wrong. And she wanted, I think she wanted a CAT scan. She wanted some additional tests because she knew her history with blood clots. And the nurse, one report that I read said that the nurse felt like she kept asking for this because she was on pain meds and was out of it and didn't really, wasn't, she wasn't understanding what was going on. So they dismissed it as her being on these pain medications when she was clear about what was happening to her body. So
yeah, and that is the case. I also read in one of the articles where how this notion came to be that Black women don't feel pain, right? And
right,
that notion,
yeah,
pardon,
right, yeah,
yeah.
right,
So that notion came to be a thing way back when it came to slavery, when
yeah. That's exactly
you
where
know
it came from.
when we were just dismissed and considered just a factory for making more babies. And it kind of has perpetuated, right? And then the whole thing about there being an algorithm that is literally used to calculate what your experience might be based on some factors, and race being one of them.
Mhm.
And so they dismiss us because of it. And if you want to know more about that, I was going to mention this later, but I think now is the perfect time to mention it. There's a documentary on Hulu called Aftershock, right?
Mhm.
And Aftershock is it starts with these two women who died. One one died due to an emergency C-section, and the other had pulmonary embolism, the same as Serena Williams.
Right.
After she had her baby, and right after she had her baby, she was telling them, hey, listen, I can't breathe. I go up the stairs, I come down the stairs, and I have to lay on the floor literally to catch my breath. That's not normal. And they pushed it off to say, yeah, this is just your body's tired from what you've been through, right?
Right.
And then it went on, it became an emergency situation where I don't want to give it all away because I really want you guys to watch it. They called the 911 to come because it became an emergency, and the paramedics, the first thing they ask is she on drugs? They get her to the hospital. The first set of doctors come in. Is she on drugs?
Right.
Is she on drugs? That they were focusing in on that rather than trying to figure
Right.
out what was wrong. And once they discovered it, and started treating her, it was too late.
Right.
and if they had just treated her from the beginning when she first complained, they
Right.
found the reason she would likely still be here. But it's a wonderful documentary, and it's so many facts and statistics in that documentary. And there was one quote by a young lady in that that documentary that stuck with me, Lou. She said having a baby, being black and having a baby in the United States is the same. You can equate it to a black man in a traffic stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy. And I tell you, Teresa, I read on NPR had an article about Shalon Irving,
Yeah.
and this woman you've heard about her. This woman had dual PhDs, and she actually would do work to look at the disparities in health, and she too died as after having her child. So the point being, no, it crosses all socioeconomic barriers. It does not matter. It starts with the race and the racism and the bias. That's people cannot be move beyond that. And I've heard reports of women saying that health professionals would refer to the fathers as "that's your baby's daddy" and
Oh,
speak to them in some type of
yes.
vernacular. So
Yes.
that's how we're treated when we go in these settings. And Teresa, the thing that struck me about it, there was this recent case of this 11-year-old Mississippi boy who called the cops, which called 911, and when they got there, he was shot. And
Oh,
that's what I
no.
thought about. Okay, well, we're taught to call the cops when when we need help. And now when we're sick, when you're pregnant, where else are you going to go?
Yeah.
You go to the
Yeah.
hospital or you have
Yes.
health professionals come to you and attend to you, but it starts there. What else? We have no choice. That's what we're supposed to do. But
Right.
then we're entering these environments where people are bringing their own racist thoughts into the process, and we are severely impacted or we die as a result of it.
We die as a result. Lou, thank you so much for bringing that up. You're right. The race is the common denominator, and people might not be necessarily racist, but they are definitely biased,
Right,
right? And
right,
so what I see here is that we have got to learn that you can have a bias and not be racist, and it's just as bad. So you got to learn to fix it and address it and deal with it. And if the community, the health community, just treats everybody the same, then it wouldn't be a bias. Don't pay any attention to the fact that this person's skin color is different than another. Just give them the proper health care that they need. But the Hulu, I'm going to go back to the Hulu documentary just for one quick second because you brought up another good point that I don't want missed, and I want people to watch this documentary. It's told in the voice of the two husbands of the women who died after childbirth, and their experience was just what you said. One husband wasn't even allowed to take his son from the hospital. He had to do a DNA test. And one husband was greeted in the manner that you said, "Oh, baby daddy, just sit over there and wait," right? And it's just unreal. And what one of the gentlemen says, it's the receptionist, it's the security guards, it's the hospital administration, it's everybody all along the way. He said his wife was treated differently and wrongly, every time they went, and the doctors would just rush them out and just dismiss their. And so, if nothing else, you've got to you got to push hard, but in a respectful way. And that's hard because you get upset, and you want to just yell at them, but you got to insist. I want another doctor. I need another nurse. I need somebody else to come and hear what I'm saying. You have got to make them hear you, listen to you, because this is ridiculous. What another person stated in the documentary that it was safer for our parents to have children than it is for them to have children in this day and age. Now, you know where technology has come from? You know, and that just was kind of a gut punch. It's like, oh my gosh, you know?
And when the women talked about the pain that they were in
Oh
and
gosh.
that not being addressed, I'm gonna tell you, when you said, as hard as it would be to do to try to remain calm and speak in a respectful manner. See, I have such a low tolerance for pain.
Oh
I'm
gosh.
serious. I say that and I'm not kidding. It's very low. So, if that were to happen to me, I would be one of these patients that would be out of control. And
Yeah.
then as a result, then it goes downhill from there
Yeah.
because people, like you said, they have their own biases. I think at the core is racism, but
Oh
I'm
yeah.
telling you, to hear those stories, and already when you're in labor, or you're already in pain, and then when something goes wrong, it's just this really is unfathomable how
It
women
is.
are treated.
It
Yeah,
it is, and it is so unfathomable. But Lou, I want to go ahead for us, and if you have an example, I would like to talk about our own experiences, right? Um, was there something else you wanted to
yeah.
say
I
before
just
that?
want to make sure we say that documentary one more time from
It's
Hulu.
called Aftershock, and there's a website that you can go to get some more details about it, and it's being streamed on Hulu.
Well, and one other thing I want to say about that is, so remember, folks, it takes a village. So when somebody's pregnant and going into labor, don't just think it's a happy time and it's just, she's just having a baby and no, please, family members, friends, the community, you need to be on guard and pay attention and
Pay
be
attention.
supportive and make sure that you are being an advocate, because you cannot just assume, well, they're going to have a baby and they'll be here tomorrow with this beautiful new bundle of joy. Be
You can
aware, particularly when you reference the stats that Teresa gave at the beginning of this.
right. And I just have to say this one thing, Lou. Um, about the documentary. I'm going to shut up about it because that documentary is amazing. Um, one of the mother of one of the young ladies that passed that they feature, she's a health advocate, and she's a maternal health researcher, I believe. So very well versed in this background. She thought to herself, we're prepared. I know the statistics. I'm here for my daughter, and this won't be our story. But it was. And it was at her hospital that it happened.
Oh, I read about that. I read about that one as
It was
well.
at her hospital. And
Yeah.
so it can happen. It can happen to any. It doesn't matter about how much money, how much
But I'm
education,
saying,
really, and the reason, Lou, and I don't want to take racism out of it, but I want to say that it's biased because my own example has to deal with the doctor who is black, and I
yeah,
feel like he had a bias. Not he can't be racist, right?
yeah.
And one thing I learned in this documentary is that doctors and hospitals are incentivized to do cesareans. Okay?
Mm-mm.
So black women get them far more
Yeah, yeah,
than any other people. And let me tell you something. That is major surgery. You might think, oh, she's having a baby.
yeah. I
It's
know.
normal to have a C-section. But anytime you cut into a person's body, that is unnatural for any reason. And you want that to be the last resort ever. There's no other reason for you to do it. I mean, there's no other alternative to save your life. That's how I see surgery. I think surgery is a good thing. when it's necessary, but they rush Black women to deliver. And when I tell you preparing for this episode and watching that documentary has triggered me in a way that, I just had to pray. And I thank God, because I thank God. You want more than you will know. But I want to go ahead and share my story, if you don't mind.
No, certainly.
So, um, pregnant with my daughter, try to make it quick. Um, had a beautiful pregnancy. I mean, it was amazing. I didn't have the morning sickness or none of the. Nothing about my life changed. I didn't experience fatigue, or there was no point, and I might have gagged once. I I can't rem. I mean, literally, it was perfect, if I have to say so myself. My pregnancy, but toward the end, when my baby was due, my OBGYN was honored to speak in a conference in New York. Um, the week um, the week after Nia was due, my daughter was due. Nia didn't come when she was when she was due. So my OBGYN was like, you're going to have to hold on 2 more weeks now, because I want to deliver this baby. Right. And so I was like, yeah, we'll hold on till you get back. Well, we didn't. She didn't. And so Nia came the week that she was away. So I got the on-call doctor. And I was planning to do natural childbirth. I prepared for it. I was ready for it, right? Without any medication. And I wanted to push. Like most mothers go into this, I'm sure. I'm sure some people do go into it with the idea of scheduling the birth and having a cesarean. And I warn you, don't do that. That's just not natural. But but so I was prepared. And what she gave me specific instructions, the timing of the contractions, the bleeding, if you start spotting or bleeding, all those are signs of getting to the hospital. So I was waiting, the contractions were getting closer and closer, and I was breathing through them. We were doing what we were taught, and it was all good. It was happy times, even though it was very painful. Um, but what happened was I started to bleed. And so I knew that was a sign, and we needed to get to the hospital. So the on-call doctor meets me there. We get into the hospital, and he walks in, first of all, with heavy cologne on. That was a sign. He walks in with heavy cologne, and then he says, looks like we're going to have a baby today. And I said, I sure hope so. Just happy, right? And what he does is immediately breaks my water. He doesn't ask me. My water's not broken. He doesn't even examine the fact that I'm bleeding. He doesn't try to figure out the cause of that, or if it's serious enough for me to have my water broken. He breaks my water. And I was pissed. I'm like, why would you do that? So now I can't walk. I can't get up out of the bed and try to push my contractions further ahead, do all the things that we were taught to do to get ready for this baby. I couldn't do that, right? Because now my water's broken. I got to lay in this bed. And what happens, because I then get stressed out about it, my husband gets stressed out about it, and the contractions stop. Literally, they stop. But I can't get out of this bed because this dude has broken my water, and I can't leave the hospital. So what happens next is that they put me on Pitocin. And what that is a drug to speed. What it is supposed to regulate your contractions. But they were inducing me with it, because now my contractions have stopped. They're inducing me. And I'm on that god awful medicine. Well, I shouldn't say god awful, because has helped many people. But for me, it was god awful because I'm having these contractions time and time and time again, all day long. Like we go to the hospital like at 6 in the morning. It's now 6 in the evening. I haven't eaten. I can't do anything but suck on ice chips. And they're giving this medicine. They're increasing the dose every couple of hours, and I'm miserable. It's no longer a happy time for me. And what happens is the baby goes to the bathroom. She goes to the bathroom, and now I'm in a situation where it's an emergency. They have to rush me into a C-section. I have to get an epidural, which I skipped that class, frankly, because I was like, there's no way you're going to stick that needle in me. There's no way I'm doing that. I had no idea how bad that was. I didn't even research it because it wasn't going to be an option for me. Right. So they they have to stick that needle in me, and then I have to get rushed into the C-section. Thank God it went well. Thank God it went well. But that was a horrible experience. And I think, and one of the things that this guy said to me was, why would you, why would you put yourself through this when we have all of these medications and we have C-section? Why would you want to push? Why do you want to do this? So I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Why would you say that to me? Why would you ask me? Because that's the natural way. And he clearly isn't about the natural way. That was my experience. And I feel that's why I say bias and not racism, because he was not he was an African American doctor, but he didn't care about my plan. He didn't care about my birth plan. He didn't care about the fact that I wanted to push, and he didn't. And thank God it worked out differently for me, but it could have gone differently.
I am so sorry that happened to you. But when you're talking, and we talked earlier about, well, you started off by saying people need to know that the C-section, that's not natural, and you schedule things that's not natural. And you did all of this prep work to get ready for this wonderful time. And Teresa, I'm embarrassed to say, I was one of those women who just wanted to get it over with. I was
Oh
in
my,
graduate
yeah.
school. I wanted it. It was like, yeah, okay, can we get this moving? And now, in hindsight, realizing that I voluntarily placed myself at risk because of misinformation.
Yeah.
And that's what this show is about getting good, solid information. When you described not hearing about the epidural, I was like, yeah, okay, whatever we need to do, because I'm in the middle of exams. I'm in graduate school. I'm trying to make it through this semester. And yeah, not good. Not good.
Yeah.
And
And
it starts with us understanding what's natural, what our bodies are capable of naturally without man-made assistance, and recognizing that's the better path, not only for us but for the baby. I really back then had no knowledge, or didn't spend time thinking about that. Now of course I do. Years later I'm all into that. But no, we need to think about that.
yeah.
And I
Yeah.
too had the C-section. But yeah.
Yeah. And Lou, I tell you, and that was a whole other experience too, because I wasn't prepared for that. And there were complications because of that, because I was like, no, I'm not having that. So I skipped that class as well. I went to all the
Yeah.
classes except for the ones that I ended up needing. But
Yeah.
that was my own.
Yeah, and I too had an African American doctor, but I think too some of that was if it doesn't fit into their schedule, and maybe it was the benefits, the money that comes with the C-section. But I too was told, okay, let's just get this done, and I was like, yeah, how about we do that, you know?
Yeah, they
So
don't want to deal with the labor.
yeah,
Labor, it takes a long time, and the longer you're there, the more it costs. More it
cost,
costs
the
you as an individual,
manpower,
and
yeah,
the more it
and the
costs the
staff, yeah,
hospital.
yeah,
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 and so, and watch the documentary. I just say
yeah.
watch the documentary and circle around your circle around the women who are in your families who are having babies and
Yeah.
just be an advocate for them. It's a precious time and they're
Oh, yeah.
bringing a precious life into the world. And
Yeah.
just don't minimize it. But Lou, it's mantra time.
Yes, it is. But I do want to say to folks, Teresa, well, and to you first, thanks for sharing this information. Folks, I tell you, I know it's bragging, but Teresa really is all into this. And you need to listen in. Make sure you watch the documentary. Teresa shares a wealth of information to keep us healthy. And it's important information. But Teresa's right. It's time for our mantra. Remember that a mantra is just something you say to yourself to be kind to yourself. And I shared with Teresa recently how my blood pressure spiked one day and I just got on the sofa, got quiet, and I started thinking of my blood pressure coming down. And I just did some deep breathing. I didn't take any medication. I didn't ingest one thing. All I did, I got quiet. I thought constantly of what I wanted my blood pressure to be. And I did deep breathing and it went exactly there. The mind is very powerful, folks.
It
So
is.
that's why we are going to start with where we're going to end with our mantra today. So today is a good day.
I will make it so.
My reality is formed by what my mind tells it.
Today I am healthy and well.
I am at peace.
I extend kindness to myself and others.
In my actions and interactions today.
I will lead with my commitment to do better.
And be better.
I commit to being part of the solution.
To positively impact the environment.
And the world.
My choices
Become my reality. Thank you guys so much for listening to us today, for joining us today, actually. Our next show on Fireside will be Tuesday, July 11th at 8 p.m. You can follow us on YouTube at the Earrings Off podcast. We're also on Instagram at the Earrings Off podcast. Check out our latest episodes wherever you listen to your podcasts. We're on all the major platforms. And don't sleep on our blogs.
Please don't. And I want to share about our episode that's going to drop tomorrow about 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So again, thank you so much for joining us. That's it for us today here at Earrings Off.
Take good care.
Bye-bye.